So that's me now. And this is me at approximately 6 years old. Please forgive the unprofessionalism of this video. I can't even sit here and hold the phone because I don't have the right equipment and I need my hands free. But I want to show you guys something. I want to share something with you. So just for a visual, let me do this. There's a side by side. There is 39 years between those two photos. So as you can see, I've spent my entire life identifying as not only a homosexual, but I have been, and I'm going to use the word confusion because as it applies to my life, that's exactly what it's been. And this is my experience that I wanted to share with you guys. So again, my entire life I was under the impression, as far back as I could remember, I've been gay. Now, is also as far back as I can remember, I've been well aware of what the Bible says about that. And I've been well aware of God, and I love God. I don't want to do anything to displease God. That has always been the case, as it is with, I believe, most of us, if not all of us, on some level. So I had a hard time reconciling. I couldn't understand, why would God make me gay and then tell me not to be gay? It never made any sense to me. But at the same time, trying to reconcile my identity over the course of my entire life up to this point, and I'm now 45, I've felt this way. Like I could never remember a time where I didn't feel like I was a boy or should have been a boy or was attracted to members of the same sex. So I was homosexual. I stumbled across something. It was accidental, but I need to share this with you guys, and then I was hoping to possibly maybe just open up some communication and a discussion about it. You're going to hear some noise. In order for me to do this, I need to grab some papers and my Bible, and then I'll get into it. And again, please forgive all the noises and the total just unprofessionalism about this, but I wanted to share with you what happened in 2006 first. Excuse me. In 2006, I came as close as I ever have to beginning the process to transition from female to male. Because in my mind, at least then, I wouldn't be gay. I was correcting something that, was wrong, in my opinion. I didn't want to be gay. I've never aspired to be gay. I've never wanted to be gay. I never agreed with being gay. I've never thought that it was okay with God. So in my mind, this would solve at least that problem, because I couldn't pray the gay away, which we'll get back into that, hopefully, maybe in another video, but we don't necessarily know if there's a time frame as to praying the gay away. As my life stands right now, I promise you that I pray it away every day. So I'll share more of that with you as we go along. I have no clue what I'm doing, but I definitely feel compelled to share this. Now, in 2006, I was with someone that not only was supportive, but was actually trying to encourage me to transition. So, again, I came close to doing that, and I'm going to tell you what stopped me. The Bible, Romans 9:20 stopped me. And if I can try to find that real quick. Romans 9:20, let's see here, says, "But who are you, O man, to talk back to God? Shall what is formed say to him who formed it, why did you make me like this?" So right there, that was a done deal. It was a wrap. I wasn't about to turn and ask God that at all, or try to, I asked for forgiveness for accusing him of having been capable of making a mistake. It didn't help me with my confusion, however. I still felt like I should have been a boy, and I was still gay. So I moved forward from there. Now, in addition to not understanding that there was a whole lot going on in my life. I mean, pretty much as far as the human experience is concerned, I hate to say it, and I'm not trying to get pity from anyone. You know, I'm all right. It's okay. God's got me. I'm all right. But it's been a total bust. It's been really bad. So I guess, you know, moving forward as an adult, I felt like I was, you know, eager and striving towards some form of normalcy. I thought that I could achieve that, at least in my relationships, if I, you know, of course we can't go back to our childhood and fix things that, you know, may not have been so great. So moving forward, you know, I put myself into these situations and in these relationships. Now I'm going to leave a lot out here, and I'm just going to go ahead and skip ahead to my last relationship. And when I say last relationship, I mean that is it. I am not going back. I promise you that. Not only not back to her or that relationship, but back to a homosexual lifestyle at all. And I'm getting ready to tell you why here shortly. Now, I know this term is being thrown around, especially a lot now, and it's a little bit watered down, but I promise you, if it ever fit, it fits in this particular situation. I apologize again for stumbling over my words and stuff. I was with a narcissist, and I spent 8 years with her. And early on in the relationship, the abuse started, and it was familiar to me, therefore I was comfortable in it. I did not realize that at the time, that I was essentially a very codependent person who was very familiar with dysfunction and abuse, and therefore I don't know about anybody else, but when something is familiar to me, it brings a sense of comfort. So I stayed in that relationship. Now that probably should be a video all by itself. Let's just say I lost just everything. I almost lost my life. I almost lost my freedom. I lost everything that I owned, and I almost lost my soul. It was really that bad. I almost died in that. Things got really bad. Now, a lot was going on at the end of that relationship. My older sister, I was taking care of her. She had cancer, and she passed. And we discussed, you know, a lot of things that she also revealed to me. She was 9.5 years older than me, so when I was around 6, that made her about 15. She was pretty well aware of what was going on, so she filled me in on quite a bit. And she also asked me to write a book, and she essentially gave me her full blessing. She told me that a few things in there probably wouldn't be too nice as far as she was concerned, things that she did or participated in, but she wanted it to be out there. So, in addition to that, I had kind of just felt a nudging on me that I did feel was from God to write a book, or to be a writer. And that's another story again. During the course of my life here and there, people that really didn't know too much about me was telling me that I should write, that it could help someone. And I'm thinking to myself, well, that can't be anybody but God, because how would they know that something that I could write would help anybody if they have no idea of what I've actually experienced in my life? So between the nudging I felt, which I believe again it was from God, and my sister's essentially last request of me, I started to write. And I tell you, I wrote, it was during the quarantine, the lockdown. I wrote it and I edited it, and I did some more editing and even some more editing. And I don't know what, when, who, what, when, why, or how. But I read, and I know I've read it several times, and it was almost like being sucked through a portal in time. Like I had a flashback to something in my life that was so vivid that I'm still kind of shook by it. And I'm going to share that with you right now. This is software provided by Kindle, by the way. So thank you for that, Kindle and Amazon. So I'm going to look and see where it was. Okay. In this part of the book, I mentioned this, and I'm going to go ahead and read it. Basically, just the setting. We were at the hospital. I needed a surgery on my ankle, and the hospital itself, I had been there years prior when I was younger, and I hated the smell of the gas that they used to use to put children to sleep prior to surgery at that time. I'm not sure if they still do, but when I was a child, they did. So I wrote, let's see. Okay, let me go ahead and just read this as well. Once inside the hospital, the nostalgia was nauseating. As I absorbed all the familiar sights, sounds, and smells. The gas. To this very day, I can still smell and even taste it. I can recall the accompanying anxiety and fear that rose in my chest as it was being administered. Next, I wrote, it brought to the forefront fragments, displaced memories of a man who was not my doctor, whose acquaintance I never made, a similar mask, identical chemical gas, a little boy laughing while I remained strapped to a chair, bewildered as I drifted off. Left alone again? Who are these two strangers? Where's my mother? What's happening? These were my thoughts, and all excellent questions. In time, I received the answers to these questions and many more. Now, the first few times I reread over that, and it just didn't. I'm at a loss for words right now, because I promise you, I remember that, and then also many other memories came back. It was similar settings. Now, I might want to go ahead and issue a trigger warning to anyone that may be listening. That I'm getting ready to get into some things that are very unpleasant topics. I'm not going to be crude about it, but it may trigger someone that's been through any type of abuse, sexual abuse, or even satanic ritual abuse. These are things that I experienced as a child. Now, I was spared of certain things, and other things apparently I was not. I don't have, and I thank God for this, memories of everything, but I remember specifically being strapped down a lot. I was, no one that I knew was ever around. My mother was not there. My sister was not there. I was strapped to a chair. I couldn't move. And there was always, some strange man, and then there would be little boys there as well, but they were never strapped down. Like, it never seemed like anything that was happening to me was happening to them. And I remember, I believe, just out of pure trying to survive that, was when I decided at the age of, who knows, it could have been 4, 5, or 6, or around in that time frame. I don't like what's happening to me. It's not happening to them. What's the difference? They're boys. So this is where I believe I made the decision in my young mind as a child. And as a child, I believe I could just simply fix what was happening to me by becoming a boy. The problem is I never, as time went on and I continued in that role because the abuse continued, I forgot that's what I was doing. My wiring got crossed. Children are very impressionable. I know I don't need to tell anyone that. But that's what I remember. That's what did it. I remember thinking that, well, I'll just be a boy and I won't have to go through this anymore. And I had forgotten, and I fell asleep almost. And through the whole course of my life, we're talking 4 whole decades, up until I started. And I actually, when I was writing this book, I was like, wow, this is really showing me how I became such a codependent person. I never thought I would stumble on how I became a homosexual, a gender confused homosexual. That's exactly what I am. And it is confusion. Now, this is a perfect example of how the enemy deceives us into this. And I promise you, I know on my soul that I am correct. Our spirits don't lie to us. Our guts don't lie to us. No matter how hard we try to dismiss it. Now, after 4 whole decades and plus some of my feeling as though this is my true identity, to try and undo that overnight, no. I don't, God can do that. He can do anything. But that may not be how it goes. I mean, in addition to that, I know for a fact my family is there are generational curses. I mean, there could be chemical imbalances going on. There's a whole lot that could be causing this. Now, what I can tell you is that I have totally abandoned the lifestyle, for lack of a better word. Let's just call it that. I'm choosing, while still gay, to not have any parts of it. Because I tell you what I'm not going to do. I didn't survive all this shit to end up in hell on top of it. Excuse my mouth. I promise you that's what I didn't do and what I won't do. Now that I have an idea, what I need to do is work on my healing, the inside of my cup, so to speak. The outside still looks, I already showed you, it still looks like that. That's me on the right. I took that picture about a week ago. That's what I look like on the outside, but I promise you the work that's going on in the inside doesn't look anything like that. And if I'm not mistaken, I think I have that marked in the Bible as well, where Jesus said, please help me find it. Give me 1 second, I'm sorry. He says, first clean the inside of the cup and dish, and then the outside also will be clean. Now, the reason I feel that's important is there's a lot of videos out there where you see men and women that are, similar looking to me, I guess I'll say it that way, who have, after years of being in homosexual relationships, they just kind of change their outside appearance. They try to proceed into heterosexual things and they fail. People that see that just reinforces, and at least it did with me, that just reinforces that doesn't work. We're born gay, so on and so forth. Also, when you hear people talk that maybe just went through a phase, although I feel it's extremely admirable, I'm not knocking it at all. When someone spent a few years, kind of dabbling, if you will, in a homosexual lifestyle, and because of God, they got up out of that, and they're able to have heterosexual relationships and even marriages and kids. That's a success story, of course. I'm all for that. What I'm saying is it may not look like that for everybody. It doesn't look like that for me, but that doesn't mean I'm going to fail. What did I want to show you guys? Now here's just again, and all glory be to God. I don't want to spend too much time on the enemy because that's his whole deal, if you will. The enemy hates God. We have a very real enemy. One of the greatest things he's ever done is convince people that he doesn't exist, but I promise you that he does. The Bible says he does, and I know that I'm telling you that he does. I promise you that I know. And again, we can get into more of that at a later time if anybody's interested. But in the meantime, I just want to let you know and just kind of remind you, because I know you guys already know. The enemy tries to counterfeit and, number one, twist everything that God does. And he also tries to counterfeit what God does and mock what God does because he wants to be God. So what is one of the things that we know? And these are I'm not questioning you. This is kind of what I ask myself and how I put things together. So we know that we are made in the image of God. So would it make sense that Satan, the devil, and also we got to remember he didn't come down here alone. He's got plenty of help. We don't know what a third of heaven equates to, and it's probably an astronomical number, but at the same time he has plenty of help. So if say for instance, we were made in the image of God. God made us in his image, so it it stands to reason that the enemy would want to also, since he can't create, try to recreate us in his image. Now, one of the images he's allowed to be out there, because we know he's the ruler of this world down here, and what apparently he looks like is, let me see, got it here somewhere, is that. Now, I don't know about you, but the one thing that pops out the quickest is the androgyny. So if he wants us to be like him, for this to be, and they've even made a statue, although they've removed the top, the breasts in the statue, but this image has been around for a very long time. This is not only a creature, a multifaceted creature, but it is clearly androgynous. That's not by accident. There are no coincidences. Here's another way. Let's see, have you heard, there's just a whole handful, I can't keep up with it. So pansexuals, people that call themselves pansexuals. Well, I don't know if they realize that that comes from the deity called Pan. That's a Greek god. That's a foreign god, an idol, if you will. Call yourself a pansexual if you want to, but you won't catch me doing it, because I'm not going to be in allegiance with a foreign god. And let's see. We can get all into this, because let's see. Well, that shows bestiality right there. Wow, okay. So there it is. Okay, so he is the companion of nymphs. I just wanted to highlight that part. Sorry. He's the companion of nymphs. And we know what about that word. That's where nymphomania comes from, which the definition is abnormally excessive and uncontrollable sexual desire in women. I'm pretty sure God's not a fan of that. Let's go ahead and talk about the flood. If we talk about the flood now, mind you, homosexuality was only one, and we know that was going on. God wiped out the entire face of the earth. There was all kinds of everything going on that displeased him on a level for him to destroy everything he made by flood. And we know homosexuality is not something he is a fan of. We can get a little further in the Bible after I read this, and we can talk about Sodom and Gomorrah. Now, even though he promised never to flood the earth again, he took time to destroy those, both Sodom and Gomorrah. But after the flood is what I wanted to share with you, and kind of bring it together what I think about this, if you don't mind. So after the flood, God is talking to Noah, and he says, "Whenever I bring clouds over the earth and the rainbow appears in the clouds, I will remember my covenant between me and you and all the living creatures of every kind. Never again will the waters become a flood to destroy all life. Whenever the rainbow appears in the clouds, I will see it and remember the everlasting covenant between God and all living creatures of every kind on the earth." So God said to Noah, "This is the sign of the covenant I have established between me and all life on the earth." The rainbow. Now again, with no coincidences, are we surprised that the gay flag itself is the rainbow? Could this possibly be the enemy trying to mock God? Like, hey, we're down here doing the same thing anyway, but you said you weren't going to flood, so we're just going to keep on carrying on. Why did you even bother? We're still doing the same old thing. Remember this? Think about it. From your experience, is that something that the enemy would or would not do? That sounds just like the enemy, if you ask me. He's constantly trying to mock God, but tell you what, God's not going to be mocked. He will not be mocked. All these things are going on, and I feel like, it would sound narcissistic for me to say, because of my experience, I think this applies to everybody in the world. It's not my experience alone that has me saying this. It's what the Bible says. There are several passages in the Bible that go over homosexuality. And God's never going to make himself a liar. Also, God is not progressive. He is the same yesterday, today, he'll be the same tomorrow. So as mankind becomes progressive and they think they're doing the right thing, it's really just leading a lot of people astray. God said, my people perish for lack of knowledge, and it's the truth. I know that I can't ask God to make me an exception. God, let me go ahead and do exactly what you told me not to, and let me not go to hell for it. He's not going to do that. God loves us all, and he loves us like, mad crazy love. But he's not going to make himself a liar. He's not going to go back on his word. And he's not going to suddenly start liking something he's called an abomination. And I can't believe my entire life. You know what I mean? My entire life I was convinced of this. And it's been one big deception. So I wanted to share that with you guys, and maybe just, like I said, open the door to discussing it and talking about it, and well, that's the same thing. I don't know. I'm kind of at a loss for words. Please let me know what you think. And I know this sounds crazy, but people can hate for no reason. I love y'all. I don't want to see anybody go to hell. I don't want to see anybody suffer through life either. I wish somebody had I just don't have any family, and I'm finding out here lately I don't have too many friends either. It took me losing everything to realize it, but at least now I know. But nobody, like for instance, the church. I felt so judged up out of there. I didn't go back. Well, maybe I could have healed quicker had we, the whole. You want to label people sinners, okay? Well, the whole idea, per what Jesus said, was to love the sinner, hate the sin. People are hating people. People are killing people and blaming God, or using God as an excuse, or the Bible as an excuse for doing it. That's not what he said. But he said that people would do that and be wrong. But I don't know, you guys. I know I'm not right, and I know that, it may be a struggle, but God also said that his power is made perfect in our weakness, and that his grace is sufficient, and he's not a liar. That applies to me every day of my life. I'm succeeding because of his grace, and I'm just grateful that he forgave me, and he pulled me up out of there. And that's another story all by itself, how that went down. That wasn't anybody but God. And, so I thought I'd go ahead and just open this is my opening. I know it's rough. It's really bad video, and I stumbled and stuttered, and my sinuses is kind of bugging me and all kinds of other stuff. So please forgive me for the lack of quality. I'm going to try to do a little bit better on my next video, and have some other things that I wanted to talk to you guys about, including one of the spirits that I feel is responsible for causing homosexuality. There's a whole list of things that I've studied and written down that I wanted to share, but that's one of the main topics. So anyway, I love y'all. God bless. Stay in prayer. Just call on God, whether you're in a gay relationship or not. Don't let anyone, don't let even your own self convince you that, it says in the Bible, even if we make our bed in the pits of hell, there's nothing that separates us from the love of God. Nothing. Even if you're still in sin, if you have no intention of getting out, or you don't even think it's sin, just don't sever your communication with God. Please don't. Because I'm telling you, he is the only one that's going to save any of us, all of us. We can't do it without him. A life devoid of God is death. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and sign off and try to make something of this video uploaded, I guess. And I'll talk to y'all later.